Hello and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, your host, and joining me today is my wonderful co-host, Julia. How are you doing today, Julia?
Hi, Jason. I'm doing great, and I'm super excited about today's topic because it's something every English learner struggles with at some point: pronunciation.
That's right. Today, we're talking about the fastest way to improve your English pronunciation. Whether you're a beginner or an advanced learner, pronunciation can be challenging. Sometimes, even small mistakes can change the meaning of a word completely.
Exactly. And the good news is, improving your pronunciation doesn't have to take years. There are specific techniques that can help you sound more natural and confident in English, fast.
So, if you've ever felt nervous about speaking English because you're afraid of mispronouncing words, stay with us. By the end of this episode, you'll have some powerful tools to improve your pronunciation quickly.
And don't worry, we'll keep things simple and practical. We'll talk about common mistakes, give you easy exercises, and share resources that will help you master English pronunciation.
Sounds great. So, let's get started. First, let's talk about why pronunciation is so important and how it can change the way people understand you. All right. So, before we jump into the fastest ways to improve pronunciation, let's first talk about why pronunciation is so important in English communication.
Yes, a lot of learners focus on grammar and vocabulary, which are important, but pronunciation plays a huge role in how well others understand you.
Exactly. You could have perfect grammar and know thousands of words, but if your pronunciation is unclear, people might still struggle to understand you.
Right. And sometimes even small pronunciation mistakes can completely change the meaning of a word. For example, let's take the words beach and BH. If you don't pronounce the long E sound correctly, you might end up saying something very different.
That's a great example. Another common one is 30 and 13. If you don't stress the right syllable, people might get confused about which number you mean.
Exactly. And pronunciation isn't just about individual words, it's also about rhythm, stress, and intonation. If you use the wrong stress in a sentence, the meaning might sound unnatural or even confusing to a native speaker.
That's so true. A good example is the question, "What do you want?" If you say it with a flat tone, it sounds neutral. But if you stress you, like "What do you want?" it can sound rude or aggressive.
Yes, so pronunciation isn't just about saying words correctly, it's also about how you say them. Good pronunciation makes you sound more natural and confident.
And it also improves your listening skills. When you practice pronunciation, you become more aware of the way native speakers speak, which helps you understand conversations better.
Absolutely. So now that we understand why pronunciation is so important, let's talk about some of the most common pronunciation mistakes that English learners make.
Now that we know how important pronunciation is, let's talk about some of the most common pronunciation mistakes that English learners make.
Yes, no matter what your native language is, there are some tricky English sounds that many learners struggle with. Let's start with one of the biggest ones, the TH sound.
Oh yes, the sounds theta and eth, like in think and this, are really difficult for many learners because they don't exist in some languages.
Exactly. Instead of think, some learners say tink or sink, and instead of this, they say dis or zis.
So, if you struggle with eth, here's a quick tip. Place your tongue between your teeth, not behind them, and gently blow air out. The hink this, that. Try practicing slowly.
That's a great tip. Another common mistake is confusing long and short vowel sounds. For example, words like ship and sheep. Many learners pronounce them the same, but ship has a short I sound, while sheep has a long I sound.
Yes! And that's an important one because if you say, "I want a sheet of paper," but pronounce sheet incorrectly, well, it might sound like a bad word.
Exactly. Another mistake is not pronouncing word endings clearly. Some learners drop the last sound, especially with words that end in S or ed. For example, instead of saying I liked it, they say I like it.
Right. And that can cause confusion because like and liked have different meanings. The same happens with plurals. If you don't pronounce the S in cats, people might think you're talking about just one cat instead of many.
Yes, another big challenge is word stress. English has strong and weak syllables, and if you stress the wrong part of a word, it can sound strange. For example, the word record, if you say re-cord, it's a noun, like a music record. But if you say record, it's a verb, meaning to save information.
That's a great example. Another one is present. If you say present, it's a noun, like a gift. But if you say present, it's a verb, meaning to give something.
So, word stress is super important for making your speech sound natural. All right, now that we've covered some common mistakes, let's move on to the part everyone's been waiting for: the fastest ways to improve pronunciation.
All right. Now, let's get into the most exciting part, the fastest ways to improve your English pronunciation. If you want to sound more natural quickly, these techniques will help.
Yes, and the best part is you don't need a teacher or a language partner for most of these. You can practice by yourself.
That's right. So, let's start with one of the most effective methods, shadowing.
Shadowing is amazing. It's when you listen to a native speaker and repeat what they say, immediately trying to copy their pronunciation, rhythm, and tone.
Exactly. It's like being a parrot. You don't stop to think. You just listen and repeat. This helps your mouth get used to the natural sounds of English.
And it's so easy to do. Just pick a short clip from a movie, podcast, or YouTube video, listen to a sentence, pause, and repeat it exactly the way the speaker says it.
Great tip! Another fast way to improve is recording yourself when you speak.
Oh, yes. Many learners don't realize how they actually sound. When you record yourself, you can compare your pronunciation to a native speaker and notice your mistakes.
That's right. Try reading a sentence, record yourself, then listen to the original audio and compare. This helps you hear the differences and improve faster.
Another powerful technique is focusing on mouth and tongue position. Many English sounds require specific mouth movements that might be different from your native language.
Exactly. For example, the R sound in English is different from the R in many other languages. Instead of rolling your tongue, you need to pull it back slightly.
Yes, and watching yourself in a mirror while practicing can really help. If your mouth is in the wrong position, your pronunciation will be off.
Great point! Another fun and effective method is learning pronunciation through songs and tongue twisters.
Oh, I love this one. Singing helps you practice intonation, rhythm, and connected speech, while tongue twisters help with tricky sounds. Try saying, "She sells seashells by the seashore 5 times fast."
That's a hard one. But it's so good for training your tongue to move smoothly between sounds.
One more tip: use AI or pronunciation apps. Apps like IELTS, Speak, or Forvo can help you check and correct your pronunciation instantly.
Yes, technology is a great tool to practice anytime, anywhere. So, to summarize, try shadowing recording yourself, focusing on mouth position, practicing with songs and tongue twisters, and using apps to improve your pronunciation faster.
Exactly. Now let's talk about the daily habits that will help you maintain your pronunciation progress.
Now that we've talked about the fastest ways to improve pronunciation, let's focus on some practical exercises that you can do every day to make real progress.
Yes. These exercises are simple, but if you practice them consistently, you'll see huge improvements in how clear and natural your pronunciation sounds.
All right, let's start with the first exercise, minimal pairs practice.
Oh, I love this one. Minimal pairs are words that sound almost the same but have one small pronunciation difference. For example, ship and sheep or bat and bet.
Exactly. If you mix up these words, it can change the meaning of what you're saying. So, the best way to practice is to say each word slowly and clearly, then repeat it faster. You can even record yourself to check if you're saying them correctly.
That's a great exercise. Another powerful one is the slow motion speaking exercise. Instead of speaking fast, try pronouncing each word very slowly, exaggerating the sounds.
Yes, this helps your tongue and mouth muscles get used to the correct pronunciation. And once you get comfortable, you can slowly speed up to natural speech.
Exactly. Another fun exercise is the pencil technique. This is where you put a pencil horizontally between your teeth and try to read a sentence out loud. It forces you to move your mouth more clearly.
Oh, that's a good one. Since the pencil makes it harder to speak when you remove it, your pronunciation becomes much clearer.
Yes. And here's one of my favorites, the mirror method. Stand in front of a mirror and watch how your mouth moves when you speak. Compare it to a native speaker and adjust your lips, tongue, and jaw position.
That's a great tip. And one last exercise, reading aloud with emotion. When you read with strong emotions, like excitement, sadness, or surprise, you naturally improve your intonation, rhythm, and pronunciation.
Yes, try reading a short story or a conversation script with different emotions. It makes pronunciation practice fun and more effective.
All right, so we've covered some great exercises. Minimal pairs, slow motion, speaking the pencil technique, the mirror method, and reading with emotion. Now let's talk about daily habits to make sure you keep improving. We've talked about techniques and exercises, but now let's explore some useful tools and resources that can help you improve your pronunciation even faster.
Yes, there are so many great apps, websites, and tools that can help you practice pronunciation with real-time feedback. Let's start with pronunciation apps.
One of the best pronunciation apps is ELSA Speak. It uses AI to analyze your pronunciation and gives you instant feedback on what you need to improve.
Oh, that's a great one. Another amazing tool is Forvo. It's a website where you can hear real native speakers pronouncing words in different accents.
Yes. And if you want interactive pronunciation practice, apps like Speechling and Sounds. The pronunciation app are great for learning phonetic sounds and improving clarity.
Exactly, and don't forget YouTube channels that focus on pronunciation. Channels like Rachel's English and BBC Learning English break down pronunciation in an easy-to-follow way.
Oh, and podcasts are great too. Listening to native English speakers on podcasts like the American English Podcast or the British Council Podcast can help you train your ears to recognize sounds and accents.
Yes. Another great tool is Google's pronunciation feature. Just type how to pronounce word into Google, and it will show you how to say it and even let you practice.
That's a fantastic tip. And one last tool. If you want to test your pronunciation with real people, you can use language exchange apps like Hello Talk or Tandem to practice with native speakers.
That's right. So to summarize, use pronunciation apps like Elsa Speak, Forvo for real native pronunciations, YouTube channels like Rachel's English Podcasts, Google's pronunciation tool and language exchange apps to practice with real people.
Awesome! Now let's move on to our final section, final tips and motivation to keep improving. Now that we have all the tools and exercises, let's talk about something very important. Creating a daily pronunciation habit.
Yes, consistency is the key to improvement. If you practice pronunciation for just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll see big results over time.
Absolutely. The best way to do this is to make pronunciation practice part of your daily routine. For example, you can practice shadowing while listening to a podcast during breakfast.
That's a great idea. Another habit is to pick one pronunciation challenge per day, like focusing on the th sound today and the r sound tomorrow.
Oh, I like that. And if you record yourself reading a short paragraph every day, you can compare your progress over time.
Exactly. And don't forget, speak out loud as much as possible. Even talking to yourself in English helps you develop muscle memory for better pronunciation.
Yes. So, to summarize, practice 10 to 15 minutes a day. Use shadowing, daily challenges, recording yourself, and speaking out loud to build a strong pronunciation habit.
That's right. Now let's wrap up with some final tips and motivation to keep improving.
All right. We've covered a lot today about improving English pronunciation. So, let's do a quick recap.
Yes. First, we talked about why pronunciation matters and how it helps you communicate clearly and confidently.
Then we discussed common pronunciation mistakes and how to avoid them.
Next, we shared the fastest ways to improve pronunciation, followed by practical exercises you can do every day.
We also gave you useful tools and resources. And finally, we talked about building a daily pronunciation habit for long-term success.
Remember, improving pronunciation is a journey. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just keep practicing, listening, and speaking every day.
That's right. Stay patient, stay motivated, and most importantly, enjoy the learning process. You've got this.
Thanks for joining us today. Keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next episode.